Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here, and today I'm with my good friend Michael, the co-editor of my documentary In Search of Last Action Heroes, and he is here to discuss the classic 1979 movie Mad Max. How you doing, Michael?
I'm quite well, thank you very much there, Oliver.
Now, Michael obviously grew up in Australia, and he loves Mad Max, and he's obsessed with those movies. So he's on the show today to discuss the first movie, because it's the 40th anniversary this year, isn't it?
40, unbelievable. Like, wow, just shows how old we're getting. Well, I don't know about you, I'm a little bit older than you, but I'm almost 40, I can tell you that.
So, folks, if you wish to sync the commentary with your own copy of Mad Max, put the timestamp to 0 and press play now. Now, this movie I saw, I think I must have been like, actually probably my early teens, actually, because I always saw it on the shelf.
Okay.
But I could never rent it because it's an 18-rated movie, you know. But for you, I mean, did you see it on TV at the time?
I saw it in September 11th, 1985, Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m, Channel 10.
So you remember that date, Michael? Now, why do you remember that date? What happened that day for you to remember?
No, to be clear, I know two things. One, I know I'd seen this movie when I was 4 years old because we were still living in the old apartment. We didn't move in until 1985 into the house that my father had made. And I knew I'd seen the film then, and I knew we recorded off TV. So I at least had seen it before, I think, sometime early 85. So I know that I'd seen it in 84. So that was the first premiere on TV because...
the first premiere? In 85?
For TV, if I'm not mistaken, it could have been the premiere because, again, we didn't show movies straight away on TV. But Beyond Thunderdome was coming out very soon, if I'm not, sometime in March 85. And to promote that, they had watch Mad Max 1 and Mad Max 2 on TV. And they had the edited for television version. Of course, I admit I saw it at 4, but I did not see the full hard R version. There were cut scenes. There were edited for TV. So one or two bits specifically, which I saw later in my teens, early teens, when I rented the VHS, because I had the TV recorded version for years. Yeah. And that's the one I basically grew up on. And that's the one where I saw later, these scenes were deleted. So that was, I can see where there were some horror bits.
Because this movie, for me, I mean, when you look at the whole sort of trilogy, the first one has the kind of strange feeling that it doesn't feel that far in the future, but it's very much a society that's broken
just to interrupt,
down.
Here we got those classical Aussie Rossiter boots.
Oh, yeah. And
they're, trivia here, they're the only consistent part of Max throughout the whole 4 movies. His right boot, his right Rossiter boot. That's the one thing he's worn consistently because... and nothing else has stayed the same. And I'll tell you what, the last thing I bought before I left was a second-hand pair of those style of Rossiter boots. The only thing difference is they don't have the belt that goes around.
Well, didn't you just say, you said earlier that before recording this commentary that the jacket Mad Max wears is a very similar one you can get in Primark.
I saw that. I'm thinking, look at that. I mean, it's the vinyl, which is basically what they are wearing here. And I'm thinking... and it's the tight fit as well. It's the one that hugs the body. It's not the biker one with the 50s where you see it's a bit loose. And I didn't get one. I should have. And I'm just hoping now this winter that it will come out. It'll come out again and I can get a copy of that.
Now, you've been to a number of the locations. I think to all of them, haven't you?
No. Not all of them. Just the location for this movie here. Or were you referring to this movie or with all 3?
Into this one?
No. 90% of them. I've been on this road. And here we've got Vince Gill driving. He's driving a HQ Monaro. And that's the 1972 Monaro because it's got the white indicators up front. And unfortunately, it's not a V8. It's a 6-cylinder. It's a 3.3. Yeah. But having said that, a number of the cars... trying to go back to your question. Yes, I had gone there and I went for a visit. And nothing's changed. No. This was 2012. So since then, maybe things have, but the road's basically the same. No one's. It's a.
It's surrounded by farmland, isn't it? Most of it is.
By farmland, it's outside of Melbourne. It's a couple of kilometres outside of Melbourne. And it's called Little River. And when I went there, you get a real appreciation of just how genius George Miller is, because he'd place. Let's say, for example, in earlier chase scenes, he'd place the camera one direction. And then later, it'd probably be the exact same road, and he'd just do a 180 on the camera, facing the other way, having the cars going, and you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. And when I went there, I got such an appreciation because it reminded me of. I remember them rugs like we'd have as kids, where it had the rows and you put your car toys there. Yeah, where you'd play with your cars on those rugs and it had roads. I can imagine like guys have a map of that area. So, all right, today we're going to go this area. We're going to do the camera this way, and that's how when I went there, I felt like, wow, you didn't think about it, but when you see it, yeah, they have basically reversed the camera, and you see it very much in this scene here, where Max chases down the Knight Rider, and you see it later when he chases down the tow cutter. It's the exact same road, going the opposite direction, and the rocks give it away.
Well, it's just the economic, the sort of cheap methods of filmmaking, and sort of the tricks of of filmmaking that you wouldn't know.
No.
I mean, isn't this car in one of the museums? One of the
no,
cars?
none of these cars survived except for the black, and I'll explain to that. Basically, what you're looking at here, there's this popular myth. They say, oh, they're all ex-taxis, this and that, or they're ex-cop cars. Not exactly. This one here, this is a Ford XB. Well, not this one. This is the Holden Monaro, the one I was mentioning before with the straight six, the HQ. What the yellow cars are, they're 3 cars. Now, the one that March Hare's got is an XA. Right. Now, that is an ex-taxi cop. That's a 6-cylinder. That's why it's got the smoke. They bought it cheap. They bought it at auction. Now, the other car here that the Big Bopper is driving, the yellow XB, the one's going through all the accidents, that is an actual ex-cop car. Now, that's a V8 302 engine. Right. Now, that one there, according to, I think, Murray Smith, the mechanic, he said because that was an ex-cop car, that had the regulator or the or governor, if it's referred to, taken off from the factory, which means there's no limits on the revs. So it goes, according to him, it went much faster and harder than the yellow cop car that Max is driving, which is a 351 5.8 litre V8 engine, GT, right? Now, this 302 is actually a much faster one. And he said once the cars were finished, he wanted that engine. And when he went the next day to pick up from the wreckers, he wanted just specifically that engine. Someone had actually stolen it.
Oh, right.
Because they knew that engine was actually quite special.
Yeah.
So now, out of all the cars, they bought the 3 yellow cars in auction. Like I said, the XA, which is the one with all the smoke, that's an ex-taxi. The one that's going through the issues, that's the Big Boppers. That's the XB. That was an ex-police cop car. Now, those 2 got trashed. They got sent to the tip after this because obviously in the film you can see it. They got demolished.
Also, the bit coming up shortly is we see the rocket on the back of the car.
Yeah, but that's coming a bit now.
He's the kid. This is a pretty daring scene where you've got a kid in the middle of the
bongo,
road.
Yeah. That is not George Miller's bongo. People say that is, but it's not.
It's
it
not.
Was
No.
the build up to it was, but they got an empty shell to do that.
Sure, yeah, because I think they did say it was an empty shell, didn't they?
Yeah. This accident, after the accident, the car did start, but the only thing that needed replacing is the radiator. Other than that, as you see it, it did actually work. It did run, and you can see just the way it's going. That car had a lot of guts to it. It's just so amazing. And going back to the car thing, with what Max had, that was the big question. No one knows really what happened to that one, the yellow one, the one that Max drives in here, because it didn't get demolished, didn't get destroyed. And that was an actual...
It'd generally be sold into private collection, though, wouldn't it? Or maybe scrapped. You could be sold for scrap.
It's hard to see, because they didn't value them at that stage. They didn't value any of these cars, even the black on black. They didn't say, like, oh, this is going to be a future collectible. They used it at the end of the film. Brian May and George Miller gave it to Murray Smith as compensation for his mechanical work. Said, all right, you've modified them, you can have this, because we can't really pay you everything. And he took the car and he couldn't sell it. He tried selling it, like he had to remove the blower, he had to remove the side pipes. And, a couple of people went by and no one wanted it. No one wanted it. And it wasn't until, like, production start of Mad Max 2 where Kennedy Miller said, we've got to get the car back. We've got to use it as the basis. And that's the only, basically what happened.
Oh, I got him right in the neck. Nasty. As I mentioned earlier, like the sort of the civilization is kind of like it's crumbled. And
Yeah.
There's less. Obviously, the police are sort of struggling to cope with everything, and there's less people. The population seems to have decreased. There's only sort of a quick shot as he goes over the bridge. You can see a city.
Yeah,
I think it's the only time you sort of see a sort of large population, but it's more like a factory, and it seems more like an industrial backdrop.
You don't see like a social.
So that sort of kind of confused me because it was always like, okay, Mad Max has a sort of comfortable. It's generally his happy lifestyle with his wife. He's got a normal house. Doesn't seem to be much of a threat surrounding him. But it's but what you've got is this gang that are going around terrorizing people. But it seems like they are dominating this city where there isn't that many people left. When you've got the police stations all run down, it's like the last. It's like gasp of sort of human population in I suppose Australia or where they are, because come number 2 it's very much like boom, it's like wasteland. Well,
the main force patrol, which is what Max is with now here, like all these cars, they represent they're called the main force patrol, which is basically the last attempt to get order. And this is the movie, as they say, it's set a few years from now. What basically, for someone with the keen eye who knows, who's seen a bit of the behind the scenes, it shows at the Halls of Justice entrance, there's a thing that says MFP or Main Force Patrol established in 1983. And this is like supposed to be 2 years after the establishment of the Main Force Patrol.
But does that?
But that represents where everything. They hint that.
Do they hint at that it's 2 years later, or is that a theory you've read?
I think they say the novelization, but also in one of the signs here, there's a picture where it says casualties on the road this year. It says 1984. Someone wrote in a pencil. Such and such was here 1984. So it's definitely not 1983.
So it's definitely in the future of 85.
It's exactly. So they're trying to establish that it's not exactly like there's no clear time reference. So they're thinking it might be like it's towards the end of it.
To the casual viewer, it's ambiguous, isn't it? It's kind of set, isn't it?
Yeah.
Year it's set.
Yeah.
But I suppose because it's always a filmmaker with sequels, they sort of go back to the design and improve things. Because number 2, it does a great setup of this backstory, which is kind of missing in this movie.
Yeah.
Which I suppose, if you hadn't seen the first one, you don't feel lost. Come number 2, you kind of very much feel informed what's going on. Well, to me, it was anyway. I mean, most people often forget about the first one. Just go to Road Warrior, the American version.
Well, that's basically why they had that opening montage for that film.
Fucking bonkers stunt. Look at that, it's wonderful.
And it was a stunt that didn't work. They mucked it up.
Yeah,
because initially it was supposed to, with the rocket attached to the back of the Monaro, it was supposed to hit the truck, but it was set on cables to follow, because it had a...
Yeah, because it spun around and then suddenly it hits. Yeah. It's like a jump cut of...
Exactly. It had a government ordnance rocket they borrowed from the government. So, you can borrow it, go for it. And they attached it on wires, and the idea was it was supposed to, ram into the truck, and it missed. And, George Miller's furious.
We haven't spoken about George, actually, yet, because he came from... the sort of, did he work in emergency services?
Apparently he was a doctor, and he worked in the medical, in the emergency center for he had a lot of involvement with motor vehicle accidents.
Yes, where he saw a lot of carnage on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
And sort of inspired him to sort of go out and do this, isn't it? Because he made a number of films beforehand. He made some short films, didn't he?
Well, no. What basically happened was he won, I think, a competition where it was a week at film school or a weekend at a film university or whatever down in Melbourne. And it was you get to go, this sort of thing. And that's where we met Byron Kennedy. Byron wanted to be, he wanted to be a producer. Byron was the producer of this. And Byron
was he the gentleman who'd passed away number 3?
Just after number 2, He was location scouting for Beyond Thunderdome.
That's right.
And there's a whole story behind that because that kind of damaged the production of Mad Max 3 or Beyond Thunderdome.
Because George Miller essentially lost interest in the movie at that point.
Unfortunately. Because they were very close.
I think anyone would do the same. You lose your best friend, you'd be like, oh, fuck this.
That's why there's a second director. I can't remember his name, George. I'll know by the time.
Because George did the action, then the other director did
the other George
dialogue.
did
the fun bit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
it's basically, you can tell Miller's on autopilot because the action feels very much similar to
retreads number
2, but it's
doesn't
retread
it?
too much number 2. But I can't blame him. And what was developed, it's, I can't blame him for that.
So, because I mentioned earlier about sort of the, sorry, we was talking about George Miller, but he's living in a comfortable lifestyle. He seems,
Max.
He's content. He's got a nice house. It seems to be like there's something still. The cogs are still turning in the sort of society and the council. There's also the government's. I don't know. Is it still there? I mean, it must be because they're still getting TV and stuff. Things are still kind of moving along, but I suppose it's something. So it's like something's happened in the past where there has been a war.
Yeah,
like a World War III, and it's
baby playing with a gun.
Yeah,
sorry,
I know. It's like Endgame, where there's 50% of the population's been culled.
Yeah, no, they don't really. Again, this all goes back to can of Milo. It all goes back to the whole thing of budget, where it's basically we can't show a lot of people because we don't have the budget to film. It was all guerrilla filmmaking. It was just chuck the camera here, so without permits, without anything. So it's basically, we'll tell this story. And according to Miller, originally the character of Max was supposed to be a reporter. He was not supposed to be a cop, if I'm not mistaken. He was supposed to have something to do, like he would report the carnage of all these accidents on the road, all these deaths, the death tolls from the car vehicle, all the motorbike gang killings. And then basically what happens is he becomes more or less a victim of that actual carnage he's reporting. Or his wife and kids become a victim, and that's what sets him mad. Where it's like, okay, that's fair enough, but it doesn't really work. And then eventually it evolved into Max becoming a cop, and it's supposed to be like this idea. And Miller's like, well, it wouldn't work in present time. It's got to be this dystopian future where the society has crumbled. And during that time in the 70s when the idea kind of started, there was this fuel shortage. Fuel shortage.
Yeah, that's right.
And that kind of put up the idea. We're seeing a lot of fighting again.
That fuel shortage idea is very much played into part 2, though, where this one, they're still like thundering around.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Oliver. Here comes the introduction of one of the best cars ever. And I'm sorry, like for
it's
this,
Max's Batmobile, isn't it? So.
Batmobile. The Batmobile wished it was this car. Here we got one of the best scenes ever. It's like, sorry, no.
Michael's getting aroused by engine noises.
well, look. If being aroused by this motor of this car is wrong, I don't want to be right. I can tell you that much. Now, anyway, look. The car for me is one of the best-looking cars Australia ever produced. It's an XB GT 351 4-valve. Just everything about it is just this car. It's just one of the best cars ever.
I love how the mechanic is also a bit of a greaser. So
he's done that a bit with a couple of all of his mechanics. Like Miller's done that with all of them. Like even in part 2, I only think maybe in Fury Road did he do it, but he did it in this one. He's got the whole grease monkey type thing going for him.
I suppose as you're saying, sort of having a low budget, we can't afford extras and stuff.
No.
But then when you're doing films that are sort of post-apocalyptic, it's quite easy to do those because you just literally surround people by rubbish and garbage.
Yeah,
and
that was
scrap metal. But this one doesn't really do that. I mean, number 2 sort of employs a little bit more of that. But this one, it's very much just like they're shooting at buildings that are kind of run down.
Exactly, and that's kind of the excuse they made for in the near future where things are run down because they had no budget. They're like saying, well, that's why they couldn't justify most of it. They couldn't say a modern day police officer would not look this way. He wouldn't be in this building. He wouldn't be in any of these sort of situations. So they did set it in the future for that reason to say, well, look, the way things are going with the...
It's a weird gag because he's walked off with this kind of like
Aikido, Japanese fencing. I always wondered about that. It made no sense.
I think it's just kind of a weird gag they've kind of thrown in.
Again, like it's their thing of like just chucking something your own. Like they went to every actor chucking your own 3 cents. Same with the character we're seeing here, Roger Ward. Roger Ward was an established Australian actor, and he was actually not cheap to hire for this film. And he came up, he said, "You know what? I'm going to shave my head for this film." Because he had hair, he wasn't like a bald gentleman. And again, this is 1979. This was not a common look. But he said, "You know what? I'm going to do something different for this character." And he actually adopted this look for the rest of his career, if I'm not mistaken. And because he'd been in the film, the Aussie film, biker film, very similar to this in terms of like biker gang called Stone, and it had a lot of the same actors: Hugh Keys Byrne, Vince Gill, who played the Knight Rider, Roger Ward. They were all a part of this biker gang. And again, it goes back to like actors bringing their own things. We're like, well, I'm going to shave my head. I'm going to wear an ascot. I'm going to do it like that. And again, that's what happens in movies like this, where when it's low budget, they say, what can you bring, something you'd like to bring to it? And it brings that uniqueness to it, which is, it's pretty amazing.
And these parts here, it feels like it's part of the Old West. You've got this kind of town that I don't think, I don't look at that and say, that's Australia.
Well, that is actually Australia. That's
That's the funny thing.
That is
in my mind. Yeah. I don't think that. I think this looks completely different. It's like something you find in Texas or something like that.
But what you're probably seeing is the actual full size of that town, because there are a lot of towns in Australia. They might have changed,
like littered around. Are they?
Yeah. There were like certain stops in between because they might, depending, like they might evolve around. Like this might have been a midway point, because don't forget, Australia, unlike UK and Europe, there are great distances between towns.
Yeah.
And in between, you've got your gas stations, you've got your food courts, you've got your train
like
stations.
Melbourne and Sydney, it's like huge.
Like, no, I can't remember how many hours it is. But that's the thing, where they build around that. Then you've got the gas station, you've got your train station, you've got your post office, and you've got,
that's what this town has, isn't it?
That is basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's basically like, here's a spare parts for some car parts.
That's quite an interesting town to move to, because most people are like, I've got to commute to London. Well, I've got to move. I basically move to a town where you've got a petrol station, train station, and convenience store. You're sorted, aren't you? But it's, in terms of like post-apocalyptic kind of movies, right?
Yeah.
The 70s was very much all of that. In terms of like science fiction, was very much dealing with that theme, like Death Race 2000 or 3000, whatever it's called. Because Mel Gibson was sort of talking about this being one of the sort of first kind of post-apocalyptic movies. I think obviously that's incorrect, because there's loads more. Like Roger Corman did a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, this really started a catalyst for more of them, because as we saw throughout kind of action films, there was tons of knockoffs of Mad Max.
More part two than this one.
Yeah.
Because even George Miller said one of his biggest influences was, I can't remember the year, I think it was 1975's A Boy and His Dog with Don Johnson.
Oh, right.
That Mad Max 2 owes a lot to that film. If you've seen it, it does. It's a different type of film.
Is it a bit like The Road or something like that? With
you could say it is a bit like The Road. But no, I mean, you can see a lot of Mad Max 2 in that. Like, you can see that's where Mad Max 2 got a lot of its influence. Where here, it's basically like, I think the whole post-apocalyptic thing came as an afterthought. Because don't forget, not even part 2, this is not set after some kind of nuclear war or anything. There's not a war.
Yeah, it doesn't say that at all.
That only happens by Beyond Thunderdome. Like, that's when Beyond Thunderdome mentions, like, the whole, there's fallout. The big one, like Tina Turner says, the day after, I was still alive. That didn't happen, according to some novelization, until like after the events of Mad Max 2.
Well, it's also kind of like, when you see like the manga, like Fist of the North Star, that seems more inspired by Beyond Thunderdome than, say, Mad Max 2.
That's the one thing I wanted to mention. As many people say, like, a lot of people copied off Mad Max 2. Yes, they did. I won't say they didn't. But a lot of the games you see, like there was that game, I think it was Rage? Or Fallout.
Rage,
there was a few of those. If you look at the vehicles in the style, that's mostly inspired by Beyond Thunderdome. Because by 2, it's a good transition, because by 2, there's still, you see a lot of the civilian clothes that still some people are wearing. You can see a lot of it. And the cars still look like they did. Where come 3, they're wearing practically anything they can get their hands on. And
you've got more sort of freakish characters that have been like affected by some sort of radiation or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. You've got a few things like that, and their clothes are totally like next to nothing.
And it's like the end of Thunderdome when you see the city, like the ruins. That is Fist of the North Star. Those images.
Yeah, I've only seen bits and pieces of Fist of the North Star, but everyone keeps saying because it is like it is so much Mad Max inspired.
But the music here, dun, 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 sort of like, we haven't talked about Brian May's score, because everyone was confused. It's like, it's Brian May. Was he from Queen? It's like, no, it's the other Brian May.
It's the
Australian Brian May. But his score is. I absolutely love the score for this movie. I think it's the best out of 3. I think. Well, he didn't do the third one, did he?
No, he didn't. I can't remember the name of the guy who did 3, but I think he's the one who did Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, really?
We'll try to remember.
Name goes But the score for this, I love it's the love theme I love the most. It's like he goes to on his vacation, and it really plays this romantic kind of theme, and it's got this sort of little cues of the dun, 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 sort of like at the police station. But it feels like it's come from a I don't know. It's more of a police drama or something, which kind of fits with Mad Max.
Well, in a lot of ways it does, because in the 70s, one thing Australia was doing that was quite popular. There were two things they were doing that were popular, because censorship had been kind of raised from the 60s, come the 70s, and they did a lot of like homicide TV shows. I think it was called Homicide Squad or Matlock Squad. I don't know them all that well, but that was a number, from what I've heard, to save money. A lot of the crew they didn't get film crew. They got television crew. And a lot of those television crews worked on those cop dramas. Where it was like, and it had a certain feel to it, like, it was like you could say the Australian Dragnet, things like that. They were very popular at this time. And the score kind of, it does kind of reflect that.
Do you think this movie kind of fits nicely into that sort of Aussie exploitation
Not really. You'd be surprised.
I don't think it does.
No, because, and I'll say why, because the Oz exploitations, they love to chuck in as much nudity as possible as well. Not in a bad way. Look, because before this, 1975, you had The Man from Hong Kong.
They'd have martial arts thrown into a lot of things.
And they were showing a lot of the city, where you just mentioned before, they didn't show much of the city, where that one, they showed a lot of, they showed Sydney and so forth. The one that preceded this one that has a bit more of a connection, again, going back, is Stone. Right. Stone is similar to this, because it involves with a bikie gang, and it's the same style. It's the same kind of a bikie gang, same actors, like I said, a number of the same ones. But what basically happens with that is, that was much more exploitation. Like, chuck in some nudity here, chuck in some tits here and there. Where this one, yes, it does maybe. Not really. Just the scene at the beginning where the cop is spying on that couple.
It's a bit more restraint on things.
I would say
it's playing it more. I suppose taking itself a bit more seriously.
Yes, I'd have to say that. Even Miller said this is B movie making with A movie aspirations.
Yes. Yeah.
And in terms of the violence, in terms of that, you can tell this is where a doctor is like saying, no, this is the carnage I want to show, because this is the carnage I've seen in terms of accident involved. That's what turned people like, ooh, this is not your typical Ozploitation film. Where beforehand it could be more like, the gang's getting the fights, getting this. And you'd see blood spurting out here and there that looked a bit too fake to be taken seriously. Where here, you don't see that. You don't see, like, people spitting out blood or anything, but everything's implied.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion earlier on, especially this rape scene. There's a scene that comes later on that when you're younger, you don't really pay attention to. But you're like, wow, that really indicates what happened. And you don't think about it, but it's things that are alluded to. You're like, okay, as an adult, you get it more than anywhere else.
There is, it shows the extremes, doesn't it, when it comes to the action or things like that. Very fast cutting, frantic kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to the version I'd seen.
Yeah.
Sorry, going back to the version I'd seen on TV, that whole scene there was cut.
Oh, really?
It
cuts to the bird then, does it, or something?
It cuts to where he hits with the cleaver, where he hits the car, and it spins, and then it cuts to the bird, like what you said. Then just that whole carnage scene was cut out.
Fucking hell.
So
that thing there, look at that. Obviously, that's very much a product of the 70s.
Oh, yeah,
what she's in, but it looks like something from the future, doesn't it?
Get out of jail free card. The interesting, that's a
having that thing over you used to be cooking in the sun with that.
Going back, just quickly, the get out of jail free card is something that comes back from the crew, from the cast and crew, where basically because they were always in costume, they were going from location to location, especially the bikie gang. They were given this piece of paper from an Inspector Bloggs, I think his name was, where it says to anyone concerned, any police officer who pulls these people over, please give the courtesy that these people are part of a film crew and they're dressed this way. So please give them the courtesy of like not booking them for not having mufflers on their motorbikes or being without helmets, blah, blah, blah. And it became the running gag where it's like
Monopoly.
Yeah, it's like Monopoly, the get out of jail free card, they call it. And they used it in the movie where, Steve Beasley's character, the Goose, gives it as a character.
We've got Goose, who's like Max's best friend, who sadly dies in the film in a horrific way.
Yeah,
it's the result of being burnt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where we sort of said, in Top Gun, Maverick has Goose. So is that the writers or directors' intent to sort of copy that. But I think so. I think it's kind of subtle.
I could see it. I could literally see it because again, there's not a character. How many characters do we know that are called Goose?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and it's the best mate of the hero.
Yeah.
Who dies. To
Well, I mean, to be honest, I mean, when you look at it. I mean, it's kind of Goose is a very much a central character.
Yeah.
And Max is kind of he doesn't really talk that much. He doesn't really. Yeah. He's very much just thinking or just kind of reacting to stuff, and he seems like a more of a private person.
Yeah, and Goose in both instances is that fun-loving, life-enjoying person.
Yeah,
you know, like Goose from Top Gun. He's like playing the piano. He's the guy that everyone, like even Iceman says, you know, everyone liked him.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of that similarity, you know.
Oh, definitely.
But the only difference one could argue here is that Goose is more like Maverick in terms of like in this Goose here, this Mad Max Goose.
Well, Goose seems more like a mentor to Max.
In this one, he's more like the Tom Cruise character, whereas the Maverick he rides the motorcycle. He's like the wild guy, like he doesn't mind, he enjoys life. So it's kind of a mix between the two. But he is like Max's grounding in a way. He grounds Max.
You could say Max. Do you think Max is more of a conservative character at this stage?
No.
Not in terms of, he's more. He's in terms of he doesn't seem like someone who would break, the rules.
Yeah, no, he would say he is by the book type because you see later on with the whole when they release Johnny the Boy. Where basically it's like, no one showed, and it's like, you got to do that. Where the Goose is really, his emotions are what governs him. He really is like, again, they're both decent people. They're both good blokes. They want to do right by this poor girl. They want to do right by these victims.
You tell with the film, obviously they're cranking the camera here, doing the edit. But it's like, this one definitely has a lot of inconsistencies with its kind of film stock and the quality of the print. Yeah, it's always a bit rough around the edges, like especially when it comes to sort of the driving scenes. And once they're kind of static, it's very. We're watching this on Blu-ray, the Shout Factory release, but it's quite a clean picture. It's quite it's quite detailed
for its age. That's the thing. Going back to the Oz exploitation thing. You look at those films of that era, and we're only talking about like 2-3 years before this one. They look so dated. They look of the 70s. I mean, you could say the haircut, the clothes,
the decor, and
everything
sets,
about it. Now, this for me is timeless. I don't look at this and say, look, I know it's the 70s because it's obviously it's 40 years old, but I know it's the 70s because I grew up in that era, and that era Australia doesn't exist anymore. It's no longer like that. Everything's much more different. But when you watch those other films, they are of their time. They do look so 70s, and they do look where this is like. Again, ahead of its time, you could say. The music, again, the cue to the music, the cue to that.
That's like a little musical cue from a cartoon.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
meanwhile, back at headquarters.
Yeah, it could be like a Justice League. Like,
Justice League.
Exactly. Like you got that whole like, meanwhile, in the halls of justice, Superman and Batman are contemplating. You got it. It has that feel because it probably was influenced by then. Because again. It's got that...
well, you could say, Mad Max is very much a comic book sort of character, I suppose.
Which is probably why it appealed to the Japanese audience in manga.
They loved it,
they love it there. They love the hell out of it there.
Because we obviously, beforehand, we're sort of discussing the movie's success before recording this commentary. And it made a, like Mad Max 2, it made a killing at the box office. Apparently, this was more successful than Star Wars in Australia.
Well, basically what it is was Star Wars came a bit earlier. This was, I don't want to say it was a slow burn, but it held the Guinness World Records profit to ratio, where it was like how much it cost to make to how much profit make. And it was that worldwide phenomenon, where it did well in Australia. Don't get me wrong, it did very well in Australia because it's one of our own. We got the audience. But again, it did very well in Japan, France, and other parts of the world where they got the character. Well, they got the world they were trying to show. They got everything about it. There was nothing in particular that they didn't understand.
When did you watch the US cut with the dub? Did you discover that years later?
I discovered that many years, and I'd never seen it. That's the thing. I'd never seen it in terms of like I came across it.
It's quite rare now, actually. I mean, it comes with this as an option, right? And I think it was also put on that's like the US Laserdisc. But I think generally with the introduction of DVD, they often just re-release. They often just print out the US cut onto UK discs, right? So, but that didn't come with the dub. It came with the Australian version. So
Yeah.
maybe it used to be VHS and things like that.
Yeah. Well, what happened was back in 2002 when I went for a visit to Australia, because I've been back and forth, I bought the Australian DVD. I think the American DVD came out 2001. Now, the Australian DVD did not have the American dub in it. That's fine. Doesn't matter. We didn't need it. But I came back to Europe and I bought the European DVD. I think it was the French version. I don't know which one it was. It was that those Warner Brothers cardboard covers.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was the same with Part 2.
the snapper ones that they did.
And they had both the Australian and the American one.
Oh, okay.
And I said, I'll buy this DVD, which was actually better quality than the one I bought from Australia. I'm like, okay, that's a bit odd. Like the other countries did it better at that time. And I was listening to it and like, oh, I can see why the film didn't work in America. There was just, and not only that, they cut out a number of slangs that were so specific to Australia. Like earlier on, we heard Jessie say like "oi," like when she's calling out to Max to tell him, sign language, how much she loves him, and blah blah blah. They say they put in like "hey," and like they did the whole American accent.
Oh, right.
And it's just so bad. And like other slangs we had, like especially one of the worst culprits was the grease monkey or grease rat, whatever they refer to him. Nick Lithurus, you'll see later on, who's the guy that tries to change the wheel for Max and his wife, where they gave him like a Texan accent, like, hey, check out that, what's the engine like? Where basically he's using much more Aussie slang where he's saying, oh, what's the donk like? The donk is Aussie for Australian.
Sure. And
when he says to Bubba Zanetti, oh, Bubba Zanetti, you come for the grunt. We know that's, for us, we know that's a motorbike, but in America they say, you've come for the scooter, it'll be ready on such and such day, and like, it's just so... They did it a few times in the American, where they try to inject their own, like, we'll make the character Texan, we'll make this, that, and like, why? Just, everyone's saying, where the actors, after they found that out, they said, we would have done an American accent if we'd have known.
That's a good. This is a good scene, like this.
Yeah.
Bit.
That's the Melbourne, I think, called Pumping Station. I can't remember. I've got a photo of me outside that place. The gate was locked, so I couldn't go. But there was like
that's
a
a great
place.
shot because it shows you in the background. There's like that massive
the bridge.
the bridge bit.
I think it's called
motorway bridge.
I'm gonna cop flack for not remembering what it's called, but I've been on that bridge, Princess.
It shows you this. It looks like it's something from the future. You know what I mean, you've got the contrast of technology.
No, again, it goes back to whole like. You don't really know exactly what's going on. Like, again, the cars left on the side of the road, everything's like pretty much, how much is the decay? Where is it? The more we talk about it, the more I am seeing a bit more of a connection to Mad Max 2 than I thought. Because I didn't pay much attention. And that's not, when I say like this was how Australia was, that's not to say there were cars just dumped randomly everywhere. It wasn't like garbage and all this sort of, no, it wasn't a dump. But in terms of its quietness in areas, yeah. But the more I look at it, I'm starting to see, it has more that dystopian feel.
I thought it was wonderful that the villain of Mad Max 1, the actor,
Hugh Keays-Byrne,
he returned for Fury Road. I thought that was incredible. I didn't know at the time. Until someone told me, oh my
you
god,
didn't know.
You can see it in the eyes.
No, definitely. I'm surprised you didn't know. I'm surprised you didn't. I'm surprised you didn't.
I'm sure it was probably like I'd forgotten. It was
probably someone mentioned
trivia at the time. Was like, oh my god, this guy's come back. And he was. In this, he's quite theatrical in this.
Yeah, no, I think he's a classically trained Shakespearean actor. Yeah, like he is very over the top, and
he chews the dialogue.
But well, like there's no one here for me that I can think, oh yeah, this guy, I can't stand this actor, I can't stand this person. Excuse me, I don't like the way they're doing this, I don't like the way they're doing that. They all bring it. They all bring a good quality to it, and looking at just the way he holds his mannerism. The toe cutter, like the character of the toe cutter.
I think a lot of them, even his sidekick there, he's...
Bubba Zanetti, yeah.
Yeah, he's another theatrical actor as well, I think.
Could be.
I think a lot of them were. I think they've come from...
I think the villains, not all the villains, because we're only talking about one or two, because everyone else is a bit like...
like a background character.
Yeah, exactly.
But for number 4, he's phenomenal, and his voice is brilliant as well, and...
he's got a big presence in anything. Like I said, he was in the movie Stone, and he was also playing a cop in the Man from Hong Kong.
Oh, right.
which is supposed to be like an Australian martial arts crossover. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's got
Is that what George Lazenby?
Yes, that's George Lazenby. And he plays a cop in that one. He plays Roger Ward's partner. The Fifi's, they're partners, actually. So they're working together.
That's crazy.
The Sugartown Cabaret. Dun, dun.
Oh, yeah. Goose is his wife or his girlfriend or something?
Oh, he picks her up.
I think. Oh, yeah. I think she definitely needs a sandwich. I think.
Well, here's the thing. When I saw this on TV, they didn't do it in pen and scan, right? But to fit the screen, they did squeeze the aspect ratio. So everything was thinner. The cars were thinner.
She must have been like
She was thin. And I saw that. Sorry, I was a bit loud there. She was thin. She looked like a tree.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking, wow, where's the attraction? I'm not going to knock them. Everyone's got their own preference. And, you can see in widescreen, obviously, it looks fair enough. But I just remember thinking, wow, that's a very skinny looking woman. I mean, she is an actually skinny looking woman, but yeah. But I'm wondering, recently I've been wondering, is she genuinely attracted to Goose? Or has somehow the toe cutter and his gang kind of like convinced, like, look, we want you to set this guy up. I didn't know that because she's really hitting on to him. And he's like surprised, like, she wants me. Oh, because she shows the hint, I like motorbikes and leather men.
Yeah.
And she's throwing out those innuendos. She's like, hey. And he's got that.
Oh, she licks her lips there,
And she does that, ooh, I got you.
Like it kind of like he might already know her. There's two ways you could look at it, because maybe it sort of implies that he's already been there before.
Yeah, but he's got that surprise look, like, what's she singing about me? Oh, she's in the cop, she's in the motorbike.
Yeah, that's a good point, Michael. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Like for him, it seemed like a big surprise that one moment.
Because they imply they're going to get in.
And they're waiting outside her place. That's her apartment. That's not Johnny the Goose, unless he likes putting baby dolls outside the front of his apartment. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's basically Johnny's waiting for him outside. So they might have like said, look, because everything's a setup.
Yeah.
More or less. They have sabotaged the bike to crash. But
that's right. Yeah.
For all they know, he could have like crashed on the way home at night if he didn't go direct home. Kawasaki Z1000. Oh. No, don't get me wrong. I love bikes. I've grown up around them. The most I've ever ridden is a 600, but that's a Yamaha. But I'm just
look at these. It's like a normal town. You can see the background as houses.
This is like a suburban area of Melbourne.
Yeah. Which is nothing. There's no kind of for number 2. There's nothing you'd at all see anything like this.
They discuss what happened with number 2 is like basically, and you see parts of it number 2 where it's like people just gave up. Like it was becoming so much carnage in the city, where the everyday person was was not surviving. They were dying. They were getting killed.
Because the whole with number 2, it was all about the oil crisis. It was petrol shortage. Everyone's fighting over that. The gold is petrol.
Yeah,
that's what everyone. So in this, there isn't really. No one's after petrol. I mean, there probably is some maybe slightly implied, but
no, it's implied. It's implied because you see later on with the bike is that like they're stealing directly, like and it is. They said that the whole concept is based around what would really destroy the economy at that stage, which was almost happening.
Yeah, because
is the fuel source.
Yeah, because obviously we brought up before was that in reality there was one, and I think George Miller had sort of seen the reaction to it.
Yeah,
people, because it was happening in the UK, like in the mid '90s. There was this crazy shortage, and everyone was desperate for petrol, and huge queues of people. Yeah. It was nuts, and it's like when people know as a bank is going to collapse. Yeah, there's a run on the bank, and then there's always a run on the petrol stations.
Yeah, I'm just also looking at the way they filmed this. Like, this is amazing. They don't do this anymore. Like, you got David Egby, the cinematographer, just on the back sitting pillion, and the bike says, "All right, go for it." And he's doing like 180 kilometers, sorry, and they're going for it. And look at that. That's just, you don't get that anymore. That's real. That's a stunt man saying, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll go at 180. Just put the guy on the back." And there's photos of Egby. He's just tied by a belt. He's not even wearing a helmet.
He just did it for a couple of beers.
Exactly. It's, I'll do that. And again, David Egby was, if I'm not mistaken, was from those homicide TV shows, the Aussie homicide shows. And that's one of the charm about this film. Everything clicked in this film. Like you're mentioning, the whole sort of like the lack of society. Like I think, having said that, not long ago in the scene, we just saw like a cabaret, a bar. So there was a social.
Exactly.
There was a gathering Saturday night.
It kind of I suppose it worked in its favour, didn't it? By not having the option for loads of extras and stuff.
Yeah.
And getting permits to shoot in the cities.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it gives you this kind of slightly dystopian future.
Yeah.
It's not fully crumbled yet.
Exactly, and I think that's probably the best of it. It's like it's the fourth character. What's it called? The fifth Beatle, whatever. It's the fifth character in this film where it's like you're not supposed to be paying attention, but you are paying attention.
Yeah,
Like you say, there's something not
it's subtly
right.
there.
There's something not right about this. It doesn't look too far off. And again, going back to growing up in the 80s in Australia, up until like 1989, 1991, not much of this had been changed. We didn't really get so far ahead in technology and so forth. A lot of this was very much as you see it. So we didn't see something that was foreign to us. We didn't see something we weren't familiar with.
It's like the thing when you see sort of archival stuff and even like from the 80s in the UK, where you've got this kind of still got this kind of rundown look in parts of big cities or up north where it's still part of, from the 50s, so
that's hell of an, again, back to real stunts, back to real, One thing that I'd seen that a lot of people really don't mention is that Miller, as much as people love Mad Max 2, saying, wow, it's so great, Miller borrows a lot from Mad Max 1 in Mad Max 2. Like, if you look at this scene, it's very similar to what happens to Max, where Wes basically goes alongside Max and hits him with the muffler. Yeah. And Max is like rolled over and they're running after him. He's like in this kind of similar situation. I was just thinking back to the Australian VHS or TV.
Where it was cut.
It cuts about, this was definitely cut, where he sees the fuel, that and he's red in the eyes, that was cut.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, that's not that, it's not, anything offensive or
I'm just trying to remember,
violent,
I'm trying to remember the version. I had that VHS tape. I burned that, worn it out.
The VHS tape I saw as a kid was the big box rental VHS, a black Warner Brothers thing with the gun at the front. He's pointing at the camera. And
where he says, for me, what's coming up now? Where he says, this is not what I want. Cut to Bubba Zanetti waving his hand and the bird.
Yeah.
Hey, when I saw this on tape, this was all new to me. It's like, what? Wow. And then seeing him struggle, like, I get it now as an adult. That's, as a kid, even if I had seen it, it wouldn't have shocked me. But as an adult, I'm more aware of like, wow, that is not something you'd want to be in a position.
Because he's been pushed to do something he'd never wanted to do.
Yeah,
he's all about kind of showing off, but not actually going through with it. Now he's pushing him over the edge. Just sort of influence him with his crazy fucking warped view on the world.
And again, one thing they did that is hinted at, but they don't show, like this is where it cut. That's where they cut the TV straight away. One thing they hint at, and Max mentions once, but they never show. If you looked at Johnny the Boy, before that moment, he didn't have any tattoos like you saw the Knight Rider have on his cheek or the toe cutter, which is...
part of the initiation.
Well, that is, it's once you've killed a cop, once you've killed your first bronze, you kind of get that tattoo. Here's another thing, I don't know if they did this on purpose. When Max walked into the room, it said 4 p.m. exactly. And you'll see when he comes out, it says 4:10. Now, one could argue that's an editing fault. Or one could also say, was that Max literally staring at his burnt friend for 10 minutes going loop? Because you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You don't know whether or not what to think. Is that a mistake? Is it real time? Who knows? That hand right there is played by the actress who plays May, who plays later on. I can't remember her name. She was very popular in a TV show, Prisoner.
Oh,
but that's the old lady they're playing. She's doubling for Goose's hand. Got the weird wave effect.
It's a good wave effect, yeah. I've always got a bit strange that is, isn't it?
And it is like, in editing, that is like a time lapse type of effect.
Yeah.
So you could think like, when he comes out, actually, no, the time's gone back, it's gone longer, sorry. No, I think the time got longer. It's,
Isn't it,
so there's probably
50 minutes?
Yeah, no, that's got to be a muck up. Sorry. Just trying to... Sorry, everyone, that's
Michael's
me.
mad at we went down the toilet.
No, because the thing about it was, I remember like, again, this is going to full Blu-ray or whatever. You can see much more details. But I'll chalk it up. I'd mark.
I love that shot there.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
I use it in my sort of retrospective trailer. That's like a kid. It's a bit like a mad child's bedroom. Everything's different colour. So nothing's. I think it's the same. I think it's where, because Max is sort of broken down now. He's sort of starting to crumble now, isn't he? Where he's they sort of decide to take a vacation because he needs to.
Max was always crumbling. I think that's kind of the thing that he acknowledges. Even like when he was chasing down the Knight Rider, when they have the head-on collision. Here's the interesting. When they have the head-on collision, if you look at the Knight Rider up to that point, he's so confident. He's so like, he's the wild. He's great acting by Vince Gill, by the way. Then he comes against Max, and he has the head-on collision, and he's got that look. I'll scare him off the road. And when Max doesn't scare, he sends like the Knight Rider into like this manic depression, which I didn't get as a kid. Why would he be crying? And you look at that, Max is he is on that edge, which Mel Gibson plays very well. He's always played that edge character, going back to Martin Riggs' Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think basically part of this is Max coming to grips with the fact that he's starting to fall apart.
It's the scene now, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
Where he kind of like he's starting to speak his mind.
Yeah, exactly. He's talking about Goose. Yeah, about someone who probably grounded him, who was his mate. Where there was a scene that was deleted. I'm pretty sure it was filmed because there are photos of it.
Was there an extended TV edit of Mad Max at all?
No, there was never any kind of extension. That was the tragic bit.
Because you grew up with the sort of extended version of Superman the movie.
Yeah, in Australia we did.
We didn't get that.
Yeah, it's funny about that. I didn't know that till years later.
We had the extended version of Superman 3, I think, on the BBC or something, which got the credits in space.
Yeah. I don't know. That's weird when that happens because it's years later.
It's wonderful when a film you've absolutely you adored as a kid and you love now, and you discover its longer version of it on TV. My god!
Yeah,
it was mind blowing finding that.
Sit down.
Let's do a remake and Ron Perlman as him. It's both got the same big jaw,
But he's built. I mean, you can tell
he's like a wrestler, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he was a wrestler beforehand. He's very imposing. He's tall. He's got that authoritative figure. Very well cast. But again, this was a situation where he was already an established actor. He says, "Look, I want such and such money." He says, "Look, we're a low budget. We can't afford you." What if we only I think they said to him, "What if we only do a few days of filming with you?" He said, "All right, we can do that." So that's why, even though he seems like he pops up here and there, this character Roger Ward is limited. It's done in 2 days.
Oh, okay,
something like 3 or 4 days, and they paid him a certain amount of money. Did 3 days, and that's why he never pops up later on. And again, going back to the music, you hear that whole marching military music, military theme. It's the hints of it. The hints with Brian May.
Nuts trying to do my trailer because you've got the 5.1 mix, but for the dialogue you've got that marching band music. I was like, fuck off, leave me alone. Leave it. This is a great little moment here because
he's enjoying. I'm
gonna enjoy it. So that goes. He's already,
terminal crazy. No, he's aware of it.
This is probably one of his best moments, actually.
Yeah, no, this is because one of the most he has dialogue here.
It's very Martin Riggs, isn't it? Sort of moment where he's just expressing his thoughts in a very emotional way.
Martin Riggs could be Max Rockatansky in an alternate reality.
Yeah,
because it's the same situation. He lost his wife to a car accident type thing.
Sure, yeah. And he's just completely edgy all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
If he steps on Lego, he's seriously.
I haven't stepped on Lego in years, but the memory still remains. So he's trying to quit. He's saying, "I'm giving up. I'm through. I don't want this." And Fifi, the character Fifi, pretty much lays on the line. You're the best of what you got. And one thing this film does not mention, the others do, but it is actually here, is that Max in this world has got great reflexes. It's mentioned in part 2 where he says, "Oh, you're quick. I've never seen a man beat the snake before." And in part 3, he's like, "Oh," she goes, "He's just a radio man." And the other guy said, "But he's quick." And that's the thing. That's probably what makes him a dangerous person when he drives. It goes back to the head-on collision when he had with the Knight Rider. He just quickly did that. Or when later on he'll be chasing the toe cutter.
Yeah.
He quickly avoids. It's his reflexes as a driver and his instincts.
Well, it's like when he hears the scream in the woods and he just darts off super quick with his gun. But yeah, on the background there, that's a deliberate shot of the BP petrol
Yeah,
station.
again.
It shows you the growth of the industry and sort of, but also it goes into the petrol crisis.
Yeah, no,
thing,
again, there are always hints at it.
Yeah.
But they're fully aware. Oh, I miss river jumping. Jumping off ropes and whatever in rivers. I don't think you've got that here in UK, do you?
Well, you can do that if you find a good lake, mate. But
No, it was different there because we
but
had a lot of
Australia,
rivers.
it's bloody hot.
No, don't get it. Those rivers are cold. They're not. It's not like, oh yeah, we're jumping into some reason.
Jump into those bloody lakes,
Oh,
mate. You end
but
up
so much fun. You're
you
a
find all
kid.
sorts in there.
When you're a kid in the rural areas, you go by the rivers and you got someone's left a makeshift rope and you say, oh, you just jump on and just swing.
You have to be like a tire on a rope. You'd see that sometimes, but nothing like.
No, not with us.
It
It would be. It'd basically be the rope as itself off the tree, so not a tire off the rope. But again, like watching this as an Australian, again for us, this wasn't foreign. This was very
Homegrown.
homegrown in a lot of the cars, especially the cars were very like they were Australian cars. They were rural. Like it was Max was again. He was in his HJ Holden. He's at his car, like the Sandman.
Yeah,
which was very, which does kind of indicate their youth. This as Max and his wife's, they're young people, because the Sandman basically was like a 70s type surfer. I don't want to say the word hippie, but it was that kind of youthful type, couple.
Yeah,
because you got the extra space in the back. You just the driveway. It's like we'll duck in the back, just have a bit of fun.
That's it, quirky.
Yeah, well, yeah. No,
you can see that obviously when filming this, because we've seen a few scenes earlier where you see flies bouncing off them. It just must obviously drive the crew nuts because obviously the time they've shot it in, but obviously there's loads of bugs around. I feel like the character we bumped into, because the old lady and her son, who's obviously sort of mentally challenged, isn't he? Who tries to. I think Max is. Doesn't he try to save him? Doesn't he?
No. Again.
Oh, the woman gets confused, doesn't she? She gets like panics by him, and Max just he knows instantly what's going on.
Here's another. Just as we mentioned before, here's another side note. Here's a Greek Australian actor, Nick Latouris. What's important? What's interesting about him? He'd later still collaborate with George Miller to help write the script for Fury Road.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, so he stuck with him. He was part of the.
He's loyal to his friends, isn't he? Which is good. He keeps them close
to some degree, because he didn't bring back the same stunt crew of people for Mad Max 2, but he did for Mad Max 3.
Yeah,
like Grant Page was the head of the stunt coordinator for this film. But he didn't bring him back for part 2, which was a bit interesting. So,
because the DP of this one didn't return for number 2.
No, Egby didn't return either, and I don't think he returned for 3.
The cameraman I spoke to, who worked on The Phantom, he worked on Mad Max 2, and they obviously at the time when I spoke to him, he was like, "Oh, yeah, he's going to be doing Fury Road," but I don't think it was called Fury Road at the time. But he was like, "Yeah, of course he can't talk much about it,"
Yeah. No, I mean, I like Nick here. He's like very, although they're giving him a look like, geez, he's a bit nosy, he's a bit weird. But he's a very, he's the friendly type Aussie.
These sort of characters they've bumped into a sort of country bumpkin kind of character.
Well, because I grew up in country town, for me, this is more like Southern comfort. Like, it's the whole word of like the rural, how you going, mate? How's like, for years, I didn't know what he meant. I can see a set of lops for next to nothing. Can't remember where I got them, but I got them. I'm like, what are lops? What are lops? And then I remember, Dunlops. Yeah, that's right. Jeez, bloody, how did I miss that? But we'll get back to the whole thing about the old lady and the son. Now, this could be me being confused, but I always thought that was Max's auntie and that was his cousin.
Oh.
But that could be the whole Spider-Man thing because her name's May, and I'm thinking Aunt May.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I never saw that connection. Yeah. I suppose...
Always...
What was that solo thing you mentioned?
Yeah. No, the thing about this is not a real shop. But basically, I can't remember who it was, not the director of photography, someone went to their local corner shop.
Yeah.
And they stole all the signs one night.
Oh, brilliant.
And they decorated this to look as close as possible. And then they returned it the next day. That's how dodgy the budget was. Like, we'll just do that quickly. And before we go any further, keep your eye open and you'll spot something soon. I'll point it out. And whoever's listening, if they haven't seen it, that's fine. People who know it will. Never noticed the toe cutter had one eyebrow shaved off until this scene.
Oh yeah.
And look at Jessie. She's not a weak character. Miller doesn't get enough
She doesn't take
credit.
any crap, does she?
No, but Miller doesn't get enough credit. He does do a lot of strong female women, even from back then. Very confident. You're coming up, you'll see on the right, you'll see the black Interceptor parked. Keep your eye out. You'll see it when she drives past.
Really?
Because they use it as transportation. There it is.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
There it is.
Oh my god. I love that because it just took his arm off, didn't it?
Yeah, it
it's
took his
so
hand off.
ridiculous. Let's just let go, you know.
But no, the chain wrapped around him,
yeah.
so you got to give it that. And again, being George Miller, I'd take his word over it than mine because I've never seen it.
Oh, it's true.
So,
yeah.
I've seen people have their fingers chopped off in slaughterhouse from rope falling onto it, which
What?
holding 200 kilograms worth of beef.
Fucking hell.
So
Beef.
So it's weird.
How do your fingers get chopped off? Rope.
No, yeah.
Fell on my fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. People who know me will know who I'm talking about. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, for the example is like, yeah, it's funny the things that can happen like that. So for me, I'm not going to say, no, that's bull, that's movie magic. Because George Miller is very detailed on a lot of things. If you watch the film over and over again, he's very detailed, especially the sequels, Mad Max.
The weird thing you do about George Miller is like I always kind of compare him in some way to sort of like Richard Donner because he's a director who can sort of tackle any sort of genre and he does very well at it. Because he did Witches of Eastwick.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like that George Miller.
Yeah, Babe sequel.
He did he produced, I think, wrote the first one, but he directed the second one.
And Happy Feet. So he's done really well at kids' films.
He was going to direct Justice League.
Yeah, I know.
Before the whole superhero
and then,
craze.
Obviously, the people that were cast in Justice League, a number of them were put into Shazam when the kids grow up.
Is that right?
Yeah, they've used the guys who were going to be in that Justice League film. It's crazy, and it was intentional.
That's the first time I've heard that one.
Yeah, it's mental.
I wonder if you can see the hand holding onto the chain in this one. I think it's
you
not.
should do. Yeah, it's not.
On the top left-hand corner, you should see like one of the production crew holding onto the... There he is. There's his hand. They could have zoomed. They didn't zoom. Like when you know what I'm talking about, the guy holding the chain.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Like reverse shot. He's odd because he's another MFP police officer, but he doesn't look. We
never saw him earlier.
No, it's probably another town, another whatever. And now
he sounds like he's dubbed actually.
Probably.
Maybe. I think it's just the ADR, isn't it?
It could be, considering all the where they are. It could be too much of the wind.
The ADR in this, or the recording of the dialogue on set is a bit weak. That's actually down to budget restraints, and obviously it's a mono-track movie that's been then converted into 5.1 or
and you got the music now just going so dark, so I've visited places like this. I remember a couple of friends we'd go visit and say, oh, you were going to such and such time, especially older people. They did have places like this, just remote, forgotten acres of land. Just you go visit them. You're like, oh, hey, go on. They'd have the old swings. I'm getting flashbacks. They'd have the old metal swings that you'd go on. I can't remember the actress's name. I'm so bad at that.
I think you could be right that it could be this old lady. It could be a relation to them because they've gone there on a holiday. Yeah,
and also what the thing about it is, for me, it leads into Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome because for me, when Max is fighting Blaster from Master Blaster, he's got no quarrels about killing someone for fuel and everything. And then when he knocks off the helmet, he sees a mentally challenged man, and I'm thinking, in my mind, I can imagine the character of Benno, May's son, that was probably Max's cousin. Max probably knew they grew up together at one stage. Like, oh, you're going to see your cousin Benno, whatever.
Yeah.
And when Max sees Blaster, that's him getting his reality, his humanity back. It's like, that's like my cousin. I'm going to kill someone. It's like me killing my cousin.
You can't do it. But also, for a filmmaker and writer, you wouldn't. No one would want to show someone hurting someone who's mentally challenged.
I mean, obviously, and it plays to that, and it plays like,
it plays into his kindness. Like his. But I like the idea though, Michael, that he's related. It sort of ties things up, and it makes sense.
But it's kind of blurred the reality for me. Do I think she's his auntie because of the whole Spider-Man thing of Aunt May? Because the name is famous for that, the Aunt May of the comic book. She's never called Aunt May. I mean, she's called May, and Max talks to her very comfortably, and she's very, there's got to be some connection. They don't just randomly go to people's houses. But the police officer they talked to before, they said May is expecting you, and there's nothing there to worry about. But here's the character. I can't remember her name. Oh God, I'm so upset because I love Prisoner. Like, I used to watch it with my mum. And she was just such a riot in Prisoner. She was like in nearly every season.
What's the other one? Is it Cell Block H?
That's it. You call it Cell Block H. We call it Prisoner.
Ah, right, okay.
In Australia, we call it Prisoner.
That was super cheap, that was, wasn't it?
But it's fun. It was so good. I mean, it was a woman's prison. They remade it. It's now called Wentworth, I think, in Australia.
As a kid, I was all about Neighbours. A couple of years.
Oh, my God.
It dominated the UK.
Oh. Neighbours.
I don't watch it anymore, Michael.
Oh, no. I'm just getting flashbacks to Home and Away and Neighbours.
Home and Away, yeah.
Oh, God. Hey, well, each their own. I can't blame anyone.
I love the anamorphic blur there, it's shot in anamorphic 35.
That's probably a mistake. I mean, I'm got to be careful about saying, oh, they did this on purpose. I mean, I got the hospital wrong, but no, in my reality, no, Max was there for 50 minutes, not 10 minutes. He was like staring at 50 minutes at his burnt mate. I'm sticking with that story. Bugger that. But again, I picked too much of this film. I'll tell you why, because there's a scene coming up where she wakes up and there's an empty beer bottle next to her. I'm thinking, when she was asleep, was one of the gang just staring at her drinking?
Yeah, well, that makes it like even more scary.
That would make it, and I can believe that, because the dog does vanish.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, the dog runs to someone, but you see it going over the horizon.
Wakes up, it's like completely burnt.
Yeah, Australian sun, mate.
I should have fell asleep in the sun.
Oh. Aussie sun.
That dog, to get the dog to run that way, someone must have hid behind the thing and whistled.
Yeah, something must have happened, because she's like, what's going on? I think this was a film closer to Sydney. I think these areas were more close to Sydney, where the rest of it was Melbourne. Like, you'll see the bottle, it pans down a bit. It's probably nothing. It's probably just forgotten.
Yeah.
And kids, I can't imagine like they're sitting there drinking, but I'm just wondering how much were they staring at? How long were they waiting for her? Because they were waiting. She was there for a bit, and they had tracked her down. There was the theory that they were chasing Max, and this was the revenge. Well, I think it's got nothing related. I don't think it's got nothing related to Max as the cop. Like, we got to catch Max because he killed the Night Rider. I think literally, like, the toe cutter was trying.
I don't think Max is a concern for them.
No, at this stage,
more about let's get her.
Yeah, because she did something unforgivable.
She attacked the boss.
I don't think the knee would have done that. I think it was the hand that did it mostly. Because I think if it was just the knee, they wouldn't have gone. They might have.
Got knee in the face, got ice cream in the face. It's got humiliation.
Yeah, but I think the hand getting ripped off Kundalini, basically, he can never be a motorbike rider again. They've destroyed the group passion, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
they've destroyed him as a biking, and they're going to be like, for them it justifies anything and everything they would do to her. That's what I can see it. It justifies everything for them. But they're like, it's just so like, imagine the world you're living in, where bike is.
I love that. Someone's just stuck there, throw some pigeons at her.
This is shocking. I mean, I remember this was cut out. The dog was and here we introduce Max Fairchild as Benno. He's the only actor apart from Mel Gibson to go into Mad Max 2.
Is he Mad Max 2?
Yes, he is.
Where is he in Mad Max 2?
He's one of the guys that's held up on the front of Humongous's car. He's the guy that said, he comes in peace, hold your fire.
That's right.
That's him. That's the only time. And there's no other actor from Mad Max 1.
You sure I thought it was the other guy, the other engineer guy.
No.
And he goes, how long? He obviously quizzes him and he keeps telling him, like, how long it's going to take. Oh, damn.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a different actor. Okay. It's not related whatsoever.
Yeah. This is very naughty.
I can't imagine a beach.
I love the old lady just like gets the
shotgun,
boom, and just like
that's Again, you got to love this actress. I mean, she's. I look at her. I can't remember her name. It's killing me. But yeah, I'm thinking of Prisoner, and she was just so fun like that. And she's a great actress. Don't get me wrong. She's like, and this is an old lady. This is like a real old lady. She said, "Give me the shotgun. I'll do this. I'll do that." And it's good for them. Again, going back to Miller, he doesn't make weak It doesn't make weak women, for example, in the characters in his films.
Yeah.
You look at this film, Jessie. Apart from the fact that she's a mother and she's worried about a kid and she's got that kind of I don't want to say the word weakness in that regard, and that they can use against her.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, where she's got the one weakness, they use the child against her. Otherwise, it would have been a different story. She wouldn't have been in that kind of situation.
Well, it plays into what's going on in society there, because everything's crumbling. You got to look after yourself. No one else.
Warrior Woman in part 2. I didn't notice she's got a massive scar on her face.
Yeah.
Tina Turner from Beyond Thunderdome. That's a great character. If we ever get to that, I really want to discuss her, because for me, Tina Turner might not consider an actress, but for that film, she's like great.
Oh, she knocks out the park.
And then you got Fury Road, you got Furiosa. Like it leads on. He's always got these.
What's the funny thing, isn't it? But with a lot of these movies, Mad Max often kind of end up being a supporting character in his own film, which sometimes can be a little bit frustrating if you're going in for a Mad Max movie. Because I love the character Mad Max.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's always a man of few words as well.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really get those all nuggets to sort of have a good chat. In this one, he probably has the most dialogue out.
Well, this is basically his origin movie type thing.
So
which
Fury
makes
Road,
this is a Mad Max movie.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's Mad Max.
Because Fury Road, he sidesteps.
Yeah, and people made
Furiosa.
too many complaints about that. Oh,
I wasn't upset
he's
with
second.
it.
It's the women who are leading. But but that's the point. Max becomes this idea of a mythical character. Because if you look at part 2, it's not told in present time. It's told like, I'm going to tell you a story from 40 years ago. More. True, the kid was a kid. So I'm going to tell you a story from 60, 70 years ago when I was a kid about this character. So he becomes this mythological character, this wandering hero.
Yeah.
So it's not him. And Kundalini wants his hand back.
Kundalini.
Again, his Shakespearean acting comes through. He does accents. Tell you what, I'll swap you. He's so great. There's his tattoo on the temple, you can see. Like again. Jesse. Me and my brother, we had fun with this when we were young. I don't know who started it. When we were young, because we loved this film, I don't know who did it, but if ever one of us said, yeah, poor bastard, the other one, I don't know, turned around, grabbed the Night Rider. That is his name. And we burst into laugh. And it became a running gag for a few, not for long, but we did it. Like every time we looked at each other, poor bastard. We grabbed the other by the head. It was fun. We loved it. And I love this bit here, what he does. He sounds so childish.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is who they crucified at the top there?
No, he's just standing
there.
there.
He's just standing there, yeah.
Yeah, he said, fuck it. He said, I'll just stand there. Jeez, you.
I'd just shoot the boss.
Yeah, but that's the problem. She's got the upper hand because she's got one bullet. It's a double barrel. That's the problem. If she had a shotty or a pump action, whatever, she had more of a chance. But here she knows she's only got one bullet. She fires it and she misses or just gets one of them. They're both finished. So this is her bargaining chip. Again, it's great little improvisation.
Don't take your eyes off them.
Dun, dun. Music again kicks in. Brian May. Sorry, I was going to say Byron. I'm thinking of Byron Kennedy. V8s.
It's a kind of dark scene when you sort of see Max they've been run over, and he's like
just go right through it. Ooh,
he sees in the distance, sees them
yeah,
the floor.
no.
It's
That was the mistake. All she had to do was stop and open the gate. Because it was the ramming of the gate that did it. And it's like, Because seeing Jessie drive before, I think she had a very good chance up to this stage. If the car not broken down, she would have done all right for herself. I think she would have been like probably half as good as Max to a degree. If she'd got in town, she probably would have been.
Oh, because Max was fixing the car, wasn't he?
Yeah, but did you see the post?
It's been.
She went through the fence and a wooden post went through the radiator.
Ah.
You didn't see it. I should have pointed out. I thought you saw it, but knew it. People criticize this scene in particular so many times. Why is she running down the middle of the road? The only thing I could put it down to is fear. All right, and I'm talking about real fear. I'm talking about very few people who have ever experienced this kind of situation where you're going to get it bad. And so, all right, I can see it's like, go on the side of the road, you got a chance, yes, but It's like seeing a rabbit. If you've ever seen a rabbit getting hunt down, they'll just go straight. If wherever the light's pointing, they'll go the opposite.
Yeah.
They won't go to safety. And that's how I can justify it. Watch what happens when the toe cutter runs over. You can see the bike jump over. Boom.
Yeah.
That's George Miller's like attention to detail. And there's more detail I'll explain later, which is actually does feed to the story. Shoes, watching the shoes. One thing that I think Miller had mentioned, or a lot of people mentioned who were researching, the one thing you often see with car accidents is shoes fly everywhere.
Really?
And same with me. When I had my motorbike accident, my shoes and my gloves just flew off my body. Just, yeah.
When I had my car accident, my mobile phone flew out the car, right? My dad went back to the crash site and he found my phone. And it still worked.
Music, I love this music here. And Mel plays it so well.
Yeah, and he falls to his knees, doesn't he?
Exactly. And we're from a distance. People say how violent this is, but we never see it close
Never
up.
see it close up, no.
You don't need to. You just, your imagination takes over.
Exactly. Well, it's like horror. The less, it's better.
Yeah.
In many cases.
Again, cars on the side of the road. Oh, you can see here like her arm's missing, her foot's missing.
Shit. We have to rebuild her.
Well, they're talking about, is she
With less money, though.
Is she salvageable? You know, this is a doctor putting in his 2 cents. Same with that scene out of RoboCop where they said, we just let the doctors do their thing. And like, no matter how much you think you can write a script for dialogue.
We'll lose the arm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know before we say, oh, let's chuck a flat line, let's quit. Even like when in the commentary, like the guy saying, how could a writer even think like, we'll chuck a flat line and let's quit? Look, and they're saying, she's salvageable, she's this and that.
This is where he's gone.
Yeah,
he's
nobody, I can't imagine anyone saying, oh, back then, Max went too far. Max went too... This day and age, who knows? There might be people saying, oh, it's so wrong. No, he's so justified in this
taken away
point.
his future.
Yeah, because his son, unfortunately, passed away. I think in the book, this thing has more relevance.
That mask is sort of the Ed Wood...
Yeah, it's Tor Johnson.
Yeah, that's right,
Is his name Tor Johnson? Yeah.
I think so.
In the book, I could be mistaken. I'll get to that in a sec. I love the music. I love everything, the suit, everything, and getting in the car in the Melbourne University.
I love you suiting up.
Yeah. Melbourne University, I've been to that parking lot and like, you can still smell it. You can smell like the carbon dioxide that cement is picked up because above ground is like dirt. It's like a garden.
Yeah.
Here's the black on black. Oh, I love that car. Going back to that mask, I could be mistaken. I'm trying to remember. I think in the book, that was a gift that the Goose bought for his son as a present, which kind of unsettled his wife. So there was a connection, all three.
Oh.
I was an idiot. Listen to this, what he says about the forks.
It come for the grunt.
Yep.
Yeah.
The front forks. What do you think bent the front forks?
It was the...
Running over.
Yeah.
So imagine Max hearing that, oh yeah, the bike that ran out, that damage. Like, I can imagine that. Like Max knows what broke the front forks.
Oh, yeah. What's the weird thing is, we talked about earlier on, way at the beginning, about the leather coat. It's not real leather, right?
Yeah.
But they say on the making of, or like interviews, the new ones actually, only one jacket was leather.
Yeah, I believe that was the Goose's because there's a slightly different design. There's a few things also. I didn't get a chance to touch on it. You can see it through the film. One of the things you'll notice that the vinyl was notorious for splitting, and often was at the knees. The knees split. You can always see him sewn up. And there are two scenes where they split on Max.
Is that where they kind of just hide it with the knee pads, don't they? Or,
well,
actually,
they don't.
They rip really easy, don't they?
They rip really easy. One scene is where Max is fighting with Goose after he's punched Johnny.
Yeah.
See some bent forks, motorbike forks.
Oh yeah.
They're bent. And and you can see when you'll see it rip later on when Max is kneeling back to his car. You'll see a crossfade where they are ripped. But if you look at Goose's clothing, they do look real leather. Yeah, they got a bit different, and plus it makes more sense. The guy who's riding the bike needs it more than anyone else. Yeah, if I was the director, I say, look, you got to give it to this guy. He needs it more. But that was where the whole uniforms were based on. That was the actual suit they based it on. So it didn't just come from nowhere. It's just like, what can we do? But too expensive, so they said, all right, we'll base it on that. We'll just, Yeah, that's one of the actors doing the real stunt. the actor playing Mudguts, was like a second assistant stunt coordinator with Grant Page. Again, this is alluding to the whole fuel situation where they're stealing fuel, they're doing all that.
I love how Max is now planning his revenge. He's just watching them.
Again, we talked about this earlier. Someone had mentioned in a comment that the black on black represents Max's evil side.
Well, you were saying to me that the car represents his dark side.
Yeah, because the main reason was he picks it up is that it's that temptation for him to stay in the police force, even when that was the reason it was brought in. Was like, to bring it in. And obviously, on and off switch is not real. It can never do that. Supercharger can never do that. And yeah, someone said that it was a manifestation of his dark side. And when he fully embraces it after his wife and child dies. Yeah. And he becomes, in part 2, becomes kind of so greedy where it's like, I've got to get fuel for it. I've got to keep on the road. Yeah. I've got to do that. And you see after he crashes, he's kind of like, because he abandons when they need help that at that site where they say, "Oh, drive the truck for us." I said, "No, I don't care. I'm leaving." And when the car crashes, Max finally decides to do it. It's like he starts to gain his humanity again. He starts to be free of it.
What's like Fury Road? The car's wiped out in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he shows the signs of like, okay.
Yeah, I can see that being accurate. So that makes sense. It's a good theory, but I just love the car too much. Where for me, it can't do anything wrong. It's like that son, like, no, he's not a criminal. He's a good boy. Nothing can tell me about it. He'll always be the best thing.
Oh, that bloke got hit by the
everyone thinks that it was so bad, but even the guy that got hit didn't. It's not as bad. Look, this is the first shot on the first day they ever did. Where basically no permits, just run up there, block the road, and rip out that phone and talk quick as possible.
I love all these shots of the city in the background. It's great.
Yeah, So Max took the time while they were like 10 meters away from him to go up to him and put the photos in the helmet. So Max, Max he's got the gun. He's got the time just to walk up, shoot him right there on spot if that's what he wants. But he doesn't. That's
fucking with him.
It goes back to his darkness. Like this is not. He's out for revenge, but he's out to do it his way. He's like, no, I'm going to do it on the road. I'm going to torture you. I'm going to chase you. Yeah.
Max was kind of just like, oh, I'll just let him go by.
Yeah, no, he's going the opposite way from the bridge and he's chasing after him. The siren goes on. Pay attention to the lady in the radio. She was the same one from the beginning. Now, this is why I'm a bit... I get... Purists will know. People will say, oh, this is an Interceptor. But for me, I still call this a Pursuit Special. Because it only gets mentioned once as Interceptor in Part 2. But this is the first one. It gets referred to as a Pursuit Special somewhere around here. And that Max is now a criminal. He's under... Yeah,
he stole the car.
Because he stole the car and he's on a vigilante streak. And they know now he's got a code 3 red alert just like the Knight Rider. So technically they should be chasing after him. You listen carefully. She says what she says. Here. Unauthorized use by main force officer, Black Pursuit Special. So that's why for me it's not an Interceptor. I mean they say it in Part 2, but it only gets said once each time.
You said as we've kind of seen Max follow them, but he's falling for their trap. They're aware.
He is like so. Okay,
it's kind of like it feels like there's a scene missing where they've caught on to what Max is doing. Because they're going to come out, they're going to come and surprise him.
Great shot for a revolver from that distance, I'll tell you that. Again, it goes back. I question...
This is the iconic shot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Also, every magazine, press photos, just him reaching for the gun. Oh.
I kind of wonder, because Bubba Zanetti kind of reminds me of Goose. Even the outfit, it looks very MFP. Was he an ex-MFP officer just turned, bad? Because he's got a similar look and everything. But anyway, that could be neither here nor there. But yeah, like the image of him reaching for that shotgun. People say, oh, he's got the revolver and he should have gone for the revolver. But given the gloves, I don't think he could have done it. You'll see the wire pull him off. Boom.
Oh, yeah, it's a wire, yeah.
I love this. Is my favorite tune and scene. with a toe cutter. Triumph. And just look on the toe cutter's face. He's like, what is this? Like, he's never met anything like this before. Yeah, he's hissing, but the idea is Max at this stage is so mad. He's the most dangerous character on the planet in this world, where his leg could literally been completely blown off. He'd still be chasing after him. That's probably what the toe cutter's come to realizations like. He's come face to face with death. Like, again, this is all like, he's never encountered up to this stage. The toe cutter's been master of his
domain. Yeah,
he's like, he's unchallenged.
Yeah,
he gets whatever he wants, and then he sees this person's like, what has happened? I can't stop this person. God, Mel plays a wounded person very well.
That's great.
That knee, that knee always scared me as a kid.
Look, Waste makes himself stand up by keeping his other leg completely straight.
You'll see when he gets to the car, you'll see the knee on the pants splits, and they crossfade it so you don't see it quickly on his right knee. Again, I'm getting too much in the detail of it, but boom, lifts it, straightens his leg to nut shot.
Oh yeah.
He pops the clutch, which
that's a great shot.
Because he can only change with the right leg. He can't, so he's got to pop the clutch and press to go fast.
Nightmare.
So convenient that his left leg and his right arm got damaged, because if it was the other way around, he couldn't change gears or press the gas.
Couldn't do anything. This is another moment where they sort of use the eyes kind of popping out of his head.
And this is the same road he was chasing the Knight Rider, but in reverse. That's George Miller's like, so, yep, same road. I've drove down that road.
You just wouldn't know, would you?
No, I mean, you see the rocks are the giveaway. And soon you'll get to the whole idea of Max being, quick. He is made for this world. He's actually perfect for the world that becomes Mad Max 2.
Oh, yeah.
He's perfect for it. And I don't think he's so perfect for Mad Max 3, because it feels like a different world where he's not as equipped. There's that famous Scott head injector and the Wii and supercharger. And now, the toe cutter's just going for his life. And like you said, the eye's going to pop out. It's just so great. Yeah. And you'll see the front of the truck. Boom. And the front of the truck's painted on.
Oh, right.
It was a blink and a miss. One frame, you can see Max swerve off the road. One frame.
That was great camera work there.
That is so good. The whole thing,
Yeah.
Okay, it's not here, but coming up, what was supposed to come up was a deleted scene.
Was that someone standing there?
Yeah, there was a truck driver. He's like,
okay.
What happened? Yeah. Stop. He's like,
yeah.
What's coming up? That tree's still there. The branches are broken off, but as of 2012. Coming up here was a scene where Max was supposed to stop by a riverbed. And, he's bleeding. He's still bleeding. Hasn't tended to his wounds. And he stops. He falls asleep. He wakes up and he bandages his leg by a river, washes it. And then he's very upset. And then the scene cuts to him turning to the car. He looks to the car and he's got this madness to him. And the car is like, again, you've got something to do. You've got something to finish.
Is it a deleted scene on YouTube or something
like
that?
No, no one's got it. You'll see it at the beginning of Mad Max 2, the montage. There's one clip where you see Max turning around and he's looking at the camera. He's not looking at the camera so much, he's looking at the car.
So you only know those details from the novelization?
No. I've seen online photos of it. There are photos online, and there's only that 1 5-second shot.
Well, they've shot it then, haven't they?
They have shot it. It does exist.
It's just sitting in a can somewhere, and it's been lost to time.
I'll tell you another thing. When I was at university in Australia, I went to the National Film and Australian Sound Archive, and we went on tour, and they made this big fuss about every Australian commercial, every Australian director of photography film. We've got a copy of it here. I said, you got Mad Max? Oh, we don't have a copy of that. Well, you don't have everything, do you? Well, I mean, no, he made a big fuss about everything Australian we've got here.
Yeah,
we've got all the
Mad
negatives.
Max,
We've got all the negatives. And I was like, you got Mad Max then? No, we don't. That's actually in England. So it's in here. That's why I'm here, Oliver.
That's why you're here.
I'm here to track it down.
Plan.
No, but he said, no, it's in the UK. So the negative is here somewhere, locked up somewhere. I don't know.
It might be is it the Pathé or something like
I don't know.
Film library?
Who knows? But if it is, that negative might still be there because George Miller must have liked that scene enough to keep it. Because he did use it, but they cut it because it was slowing down the pace too much.
Yeah, you have to get to him quickly.
But there are photos of it. I'll show you later, and it's just so well acted because you look at Mel, he's conflicted. You see him; he looks at the camera like he's in pain, but he's like, he's a man who's so broken.
Sure.
And he's looking at the car, and the car's like, "I'll give you what you want."
I suppose, like, you know, that sort of sequence where he's in the rain and it looks like he's falling asleep. It's showing you that
he's dying.
He's fucked.
He's dying. If it wasn't for revenge, he would have probably just given up.
Yeah.
You know. You saw on the neck on the left side of Johnny had the tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so it indicated because he mentioned it. I skipped it, but he mentioned it to the mechanic, and it's just so random if you don't think about it or don't know about it. Where he says, you know, I want to know about the tattoo. That's the only reference to it, and it's like, you know, unless you see it, you don't know what it is. But that's the only reference to the tattoo, which indicates that Max probably knew Johnny didn't have the tattoo beforehand. And now that he knows that he has the tattoo after Goose has been killed, he's probably affiliated, this is the one who killed Goose. That's why he's probably burning him. It's probably like, yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right, to hell with it. Because when he saw the petrol and he probably automatically went to Goose, and this is how Goose got set up. This is how Goose died.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, to hell with it. It's high tensile steel. This scene was cut out, TV. Any idea of how to make that bomb was cut out.
So what is this whole scene cut then, basically?
No. Just the close-ups of the fuel, just him of putting the lighter.
Right.
Close-ups of showing how he set it up. You're mad, man. Yep. First reference to Max being mad.
You're mad, Max.
I got that. I got a photo climbing up that. I've been to this location too. It's this one has not changed at all.
Really?
Exactly the same road. They haven't even changed the asphalt.
That's crazy. I just bet.
Boom. The music, again, going back, very, you know, bombastic.
This is the bit I love.
Yeah.
That shot. And that musical cue.
Yeah.
Because dun-dun.
Yeah.
Dun-dun. And the end.
Dun.
Yeah.
Dun. You can do a quick cut edit of Mad Max 2 without the montage and just where you zoom out of the supercharger and you can see like where Max is. 2 years later, what does he become?
It's a fantastic film. I
love
think,
it to this day.
Is it your favourite out of the trilogy? Number 2 is the one that sort of.
I'd have to say yes.
Number 2, I think, for entertainment value in terms of like, because of its kind of non-stop action, kind of.
Yeah. No, I agree. I can see that totally. But
production values.
For me, I see Mad Max 2 like Terminator 2. At the time when it came out, Terminator 2 was like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
As years go by, you start to appreciate the first one much more. Same with Terminator. I think first Terminator for me is the best one.
It's just slightly better.
The budget, you can tell, and they're very parallel. Low budget films, sort of like first time director, and he's got that kind of
confidence comes second one. You know, he's kind of more. He sort of, you know, things are bigger and and
they
a bit more
touch on
polished, but there's still a sense of this kind of like at the seat of their pants in the first one, and there's kind of more. This one is there's more of a story there,
and not only that. If you think about again going back to Terminator 1 and 2, Terminator 2 borrows a lot from Terminator 1, just like Mad Max 2 borrows a lot from Mad Max 1. There are a lot of repeat shots.
Take what works and sort of.
Well, exactly, and it's take what works and repeat on it, and that's basically some of the best sequels do that.
Well, that was the mentality, wasn't it? Sort of give people the same but a little bit more.
Yeah, but not every sequel did that successfully. So there is only a few instances where that actually worked. There were not that many films that did that well. But again, Mad Max 2, which became a phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
But me looking at the first one, I think as I grow older, I appreciate it much more than the second one. I mean, the second one's great. Don't get me wrong. I love the second one. I like part 3 as well. Yeah. Part 3 is the least favorite of everyone. But because I know the behind the scenes of what happened to Byron Kennedy, I can forgive it. So like this is a director who was probably contracted. The wheels were turning where it's like, look, my best mate died and I can't get out of it. So it's like Warner Brothers stepped in. We want another Mad Max. Here's the millions. Yeah, and that's why I can probably feel he was like, yeah, let's not do another one. But he still had it in him. And if you look at Fury Road, yeah, he still had it.
Well, that was the one of watching Fury Road was like, you see a director come along, who's done an action movie for years, and puts everyone in their place and says, I'm still the best. And
not only that, I don't know about Charlize, but I think Tom Hardy was like, had no faith in him. He's like, where's this going?
Fucking hell.
Where's this? Everyone's like, this doesn't look like it's going anywhere. No one had enough faith with him.
Really?
And don't forget, this is a 70-something-year-old man. This is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like a man
yeah.
who's done action all his life.
No.
And when it comes out, it's phenomenal. And everyone's like, I should have listened to you.
Yeah. 'cause
And like,
it
of course.
brought back the whole sort of, let's put everything within camera again.
And exactly. And people love that. And now, unfortunately, because the bigwigs like, oh, there's money to be made, we're going right back to the whole like, oh no, we want control of this thing that nobody wanted. It's become this. It's growing a life of its own. So I don't know if we'll ever get another Mad Max.
I really hope so. I really get some more.
Yeah, it'd be great to see another one.
Well, everyone, that's the end of the commentary. Hope you enjoyed it. Me and Michael will be back with Mad Max 2 in the coming weeks. Okay, everyone, take care and goodbye.
See you later.